Hey everyone, my name is Adam Needens. This is my video introduction for AEP 855, Module 1. A little bit of background about myself. I live in Lyons, Kansas, which is a rural town, and I'll get into Lyons here a little bit more on the next slide. I am married to my wife, Megan. We have two little kids, a little boy who just turned 3, and a little girl who is 10 months old. I have been teaching currently this is my 9th year right now. I teach 4th grade. I've taught 4th grade for all 9 years so far at the same elementary school. I am also, in our school district, I'm also the middle school boys head basketball coach and the high school baseball coach. I also do the public address announcing for the high school varsity football and basketball games. So a little bit about Lyons USD 405. We are a 3A school district. I work at Central Elementary, which is about 182 students currently. This is a 3 through 5 building with 3 classes per grade. In our district, we also have an elementary school that is pre-K through 2. And then we have a middle school 6 through 8, and then high school. Our building currently is nearing 80% free and reduced lunch. We are about 20 to 25% ESL population. Currently, right now, last year we started our Gemini process, and we're going through those changes that we were implementing last year and still currently going through some changes this year, so it's quite the process. We're also looking into going through a big process change of co-teaching as well in our building. So there's a lot happening, a lot of changes, and a lot of adjustments being made by everybody. Politics. Why do politics influence our schools? So what I got here is the 10th Amendment granted each state their own sovereignty on how to best run their own public schools. Basically looking at it as the whole United States shouldn't be in charge of one overseeing educational policy. Each state probably needs to do what's best for their state. I've found out through my own personal work and everything that funding can be a driving force. I think it's a big driving force for a lot of school districts, a lot of communities, a lot of states as well. You're looking at different title programs, ESL programs, all those different aspects, the lunch programs that can get you any type of money you can get into your school district. School districts look at that as a huge benefit. Understand the community your school is in. Not every community obviously is going to be the same, so therefore not every school district is going to be the same. You're going to have different types of students, and you need to adjust some of what you're doing based on the needs from your community and needs of your school. Obviously, if I live in Lyons, Kansas, which is a rural community, that's not going to be nearly the same as if I were to be teaching school in San Francisco, California, or even if we just traveled up northeast just a little bit into the Kansas City region. So we need to make adjustments as administrators, kind of based on where our school's located. Sometimes the politics are actually within the building, within the teachers, throughout the students, staff, and parents. I see the politic aspect come in big time from teacher to teacher, sometimes even parents to administrators or parents to teachers as well. So that's something we need to understand. Standards-based policies. Going through the standards here, teaching to standards limits the abilities of the teachers. That's kind of my personal opinion. I think that's probably the opinion of a lot of teachers. You get told what to teach, how to teach it, when it's going to be taught, all those types of things, which is fine. That way everything is getting covered, and I understand there are standards for a reason. I think sometimes a lot of that stuff gets pushed into an aspect of, hey, you're going to do it this way, and there's not another way to do it because we have to do it this way because that's what we think is best. Sometimes I feel like if you're in a building with that's the kind of teachers you have in your building, you might need to be looking at getting different teachers because obviously they're not qualified enough to probably be doing their job if you're having to tell them every little thing that they're needing to do. Certain parties are wanting control over, like what I said, what is taught, when it's taught, and how it's taught. We need to follow those state laws and regulations, and we're trying to meet the needs, meaning the needs of all of our teachers, the needs of all of our students, the needs of the community. So you got to look at the overall aspect of everything that those standards are trying to cover. school leaders are being called to take action based on these standards. If you look at standards just throughout the state of Kansas, or if you were to look at the standards in your state if you're somewhere else, you're already finding that there's so many different regions. You're going to find so many different types of communities. Your demographics from not only state to state, but just even county to county or even town to town, your demographics are going to vary widely. The needs of your students, the needs of your community, and lastly, we all know school to school is going to change. You can go 8 miles to the south of here, and our demographics are completely different than what we have in Lyons. So it's easy to see in those things how easily everything can change. The school leaders are trying to be the best people to fight for what is best for the school district. You have to give some of the administrators the power and trust that they're going to know what teachers are best and what's best for the teachers, and then what's best for the students in their district. Overall goal should just be simply, let's do what's best for the students. School leaders being political activists in a way. School leaders understand their demographics more than probably anybody else, and they must fight for their needs of their students. With these students and families day in and day out, you got to look at the teachers are with these students day in and day out. Administrators see these students day in and day out. We have to understand and build the relationships to be able to understand what is best for our students, what is best for these kids and these families. Our job would be to then serve, educate, and prepare these students for their future. You look at the state and federal government doesn't know, quote unquote, my students, I have students. They just look at it as a number, and that's fine. They have to have their data, they have to have their numbers and everything, and that's understandable. They have to look at the big picture of stuff, but I have to, as a teacher, look at what's best for my students, and as an administrator, you would need to look at what's best for the overall building and all of the students in the building. How politics affects school. We want to keep up. We want to stay ahead of everybody else. There's a driving force to be one step ahead of everybody else, to catch up if you are behind. There you look at the politics within scores. Everybody's looking at, well, what are your scores on standardized tests? What are your scores on MAP testing? What are your scores going into this? What are they at the end of the year? How much are you improving? If you're behind, are you catching up? Things like that. Just simply being up to date on standards, on new teaching practices, on everything else going on. Are you up to date on technology and everything like that? Politics are empowering. We need to empower the students and empower the teachers is a major job of an administrator in the building. Our overall goal, once again, should be student success, but sometimes I feel like that last bullet point down there, perception, is the driving force, not necessarily student success. Everybody wants to be viewed as the top school or the best teacher, the best administrator, when overall, if you were just to focus on as a building, are we driving student success? I think that would lead to solve a lot of problems within a school district. How politics affects me. As a fourth grade teacher, it's obviously affecting what I teach based on standards, but am I bringing much of the political information into my teaching? Probably not. My day-to-day relationships with my kids, my students, that's not affecting me or them nearly as much. The state and federal politics are left more for the administrative side, and teachers are basically supposed to meet these requirements that we're told we're supposed to be meeting. As for the political game within the school or district, that's pretty easy to see. You can see teachers that fight that political game amongst each other or within the school district, or even against the community members, board members, things like that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Educational leadership. How can I, as an administrator, improve? I would need to stay up to date with community, local, state, and federal laws, policies, regulations, all those things. Be knowledgeable about what is going on in my own personal building. Always look for ways to enhance the success of our students. And finally, the last page I have is my reference page from the chapter that we read. That was my introduction video for Module 1. Thank you for listening, and good luck with the rest of the course.